Welcome to On the Move.
Hello, preppers and patriots. I am Mack Worley III, and this is On the Move. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have a really great show in store for you all. We're going to be covering emergency preparedness. We'll cover survival basics, and by the end of the show, you should have everything you need to get started getting prepared. If you want to join in on the conversation, you can by calling in at 619-924-0986 or by emailing the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to check us out at onthemoveshow.com or youtube.com/onthemoveshow, facebook.com/onthemoveshow, twitter.com/onthemoveshow. Please visit our store at cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. All of the designs are original, and your purchases will help make On the Move bigger and better. We have hundreds of products that won't break your bank, and they're perfect for you or the patriot in your life. Your support means so much. Thank you. All right. The very first thing I would like to get to today is I'm starting a new segment called Corrections, Retractions, and I Was Wrong. Last week I misread the date of the Benghazi attack in Libya. It was during my Scandal Show, Episode 3. The correct date was September 11, 2012. The attack happened exactly 11 years after the attack on the World Trade Center. I realized my mistake and I wanted to get the correct information out there. Please accept my humble apology, but no, I'm human, and I'll likely make another mistake, most likely within the next few minutes. So because of this, I've created this segment, and it will be ongoing anytime I realize that there's a mistake I've made or I'm notified by one of you, my listeners, that I was wrong. Feel free to email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail if you have a correction you'd like me to make. If you provide your reliable sources, I'll gladly read your email and admit the error of my ways. Just make sure you title the email "You're Wrong" in all capital letters. Okay, so that is that new segment. I would also like to talk about some current events. I know this is an emergency preparedness episode, but the very first thing I'd like to talk about, it seems pretty critical that I bring it up, is what just happened in the Senate this last week, and it is in regards to the filibuster. Now, if you haven't been paying attention, let me just fill you in on what happened. The Democrats in the Senate have decided to eliminate the filibuster as an option for the minority in the Senate to discuss an issue and to prevent something from going through, like appointments to courts and what have you. So anyway, Senator Harry Reid, he's been one of the biggest advocates against the filibuster, saying that it's being used by the Republicans to stonewall and delay and prevent everything that they're trying to do. And he's saying it's basically preventing progress. And Obama is actually doing the same thing. He's really advocating against the use of the filibuster. And I found this kind of funny because not too long ago, the situation was actually reversed. Obama is actually on record in 2005 having defended the filibuster. So if you're not sure if I'm telling the truth, well, here, you can listen to his own words. Here he is.
The American people sent us here to be their voice. They understand that those voices can at times become loud and argumentative, but they also hope that we can disagree without being disagreeable. What they don't expect is for one party, be it Republican or Democrat, to change the rules in the middle of the game so that they can make all the decisions while the other party is told to sit down and keep quiet. The American people want less partisanship in this town, but everyone in this chamber knows that if the majority chooses to end the filibuster, if they choose to change the rules and put an end to democratic debate, then the fighting and the bitterness and the gridlock will only get worse. Now, I understand that Republicans are getting a lot of pressure to do this from factions outside the chamber, but we need to rise above the ends justify the means mentality, because we're here to answer to the people, all of the people, not just the ones that are wearing our particular party label. If the right of free and open debate is taken away from the minority party, and the millions of Americans who ask us to be their voice, I fear that the already partisan atmosphere in Washington will be poisoned to the point where no one will be able to agree on anything. That doesn't serve anyone's best interest, and it certainly isn't what the patriots who founded this democracy had in mind. We owe the people who sent us here more than that. We owe them much more.
Okay, so that's his own words from a speech he gave as Senator Barack Obama in 2005. So don't believe me. You know, the filibuster is important. And I just thought I would like to point out here the fact that, you know, we, on both sides of the aisle, we do not have leaders in power that are putting the republic first. You know, I don't think it's too much to ask for us to have leaders and elected representatives that actually put the republic before partisan issues. Now, I am totally against what they did to the filibuster. This is making a situation where they can literally just pack the courts, one side or the other. And you know, this will never get fixed. I can't imagine a scenario where a majority group in Congress, in the Senate, will ever be like, you know, we're sick of having full control over everything that goes on here. Let's give the minority a voice. Let's give them the ability to stop us and prevent us from doing things that we like. We're never going to get the filibuster back. And just so you know, the filibuster is, if you don't know what the filibuster is, I perhaps should have explained that first. The filibuster is when there's something being called up to vote on in Congress, and somebody can take the stand, and they can just talk and talk and talk until the time for them to vote has elapsed, and they're no longer able to vote on it. So it's a useful tool to prevent things from going through and to stop the majority from walking all over the minority in the Senate. So it's pretty useful, and you know, this is something that we've had for hundreds of years now, 200 years, over 200 years, and it's something that they just took away. They have done grave damage to the republic, and this will be used to pack our court system with a bunch of liberal judges who are going to be basically interpreting the letter of the law in a way that it wasn't meant to be to begin with. So, you know, this is very worrisome, and it's something that I'm concerned about. This is the only reason why I thought I'd bring it up. I mean, that's not what this broadcast is about today. I just thought I'd mention it. Anyway, let's move on to the meat of what this broadcast is about today. This is about emergency preparedness. So, first things first, why should you listen to me? Who am I? I mean, I'm just a guy, okay? So first of all, I'm not an authority on this. I mean, I've been prepping for quite a while, and I'd like to think I have a pretty good grasp on it, but, you know, I don't have a bunker in my basement or something. I'm not... You know, I don't have a spaceship ready to fly me to, you know, Alpha Centauri or whatever if something kicks off. But what I will say is that, you know, I put a great deal of thought and research into these activities. And, you know, I think it's pretty common sense. So first things first, how did I get into prepping? Well, it happened kind of naturally, organically. I was in the military, and I was out on a security assignment, and it's pretty boring. You're just sitting there watching something and you know, watching tumbleweeds blow by because I was stationed out in Wyoming. And the partner I had out there, him and I, we were big zombie movie fans at the time. So we started talking about what would you do if a zombie apocalypse happened right now? And, you know, the plan kind of went going because it's a 12-hour shift. You're out there sitting for a real long time, and you start getting real detailed in this plan. And, you know, basically it grew from there. We moved into, you know, what would you do in a Red Dawn scenario if it happened right now? Anybody who's seen the movie Red Dawn, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, and then it goes from there. And then I started thinking about different scenarios that could happen on my own. And, you know, I was thinking, what would I do in an economic collapse, and, you know, so on. All these other scenarios that could possibly happen are things that I started thinking about on my own. Now I basically prep for everything. You know, there's not one specific disaster or event that I'm prepping for. I'm not like that show, Doomsday Preppers, where I'm prepping for, you know, a solar flare to knock out the power grid, and then I'm prepared for the ensuing riots that will follow. No. I don't go overboard on it, but I like to be generally prepared for most emergencies. I've been doing this since about 2007. It's over 6 years. I'm still a student of prepping, and I don't have all the answers. In fact, I typically look to others to see what they've learned, and I try to gain as much information as I can from other people. A lot of this information I'm about to give you guys is my own personal opinion and philosophy, but like I said, I haven't come to these conclusions on my own. I've done lots and lots of research. So let's begin to the meat of what this is here, and feel free, give me a call here, and if you want to tune in here or pipe in and just let me know what you think. If you think I'm dead wrong, give me a call here. The number is 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com, and I will read your email live on the air. So moving forward here, FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, recommends you build an emergency disaster kit. This is coming from our government themselves. So how can we, as emergency preparedness people or preppers, be the ones that are the crazy people when the government is actually telling us to prep ourselves? They recommend that you have at least 3 days worth of supplies. They also recommend that you have a plan for emergencies. So, and don't even take my word for it. Again, take their own word for it. Here, I'll play you some ads from FEMA themselves. Here's the first one.
So I've come up with a family emergency plan.
Great. What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
How will we know what to do?
You won't.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too. Thanks for this, sweetie.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
All right, so that was the ads straight from FEMA themselves. And, FEMA is also prepping themselves up, so why wouldn't you? FEMA is getting prepared for big events to happen. They're stockpiling food. They even have, ammo stockpiled. I'm sure you've heard the conspiracy theories, and I'm not going to get into it because that's going to take us so far into the weeds. But FEMA has FEMA camps, and those are not a place that you would want to be. They're not there to help you specifically. So, that should be a last resort. Those would be very dangerous places to go. And FEMA, if they are available, wouldn't be a reliable resource to provide everyone the means of survival. They are there for those who don't plan or those who did plan and their plans failed somehow. So everyone should have an emergency preparedness plan. And it's it's a pretty big responsibility as a citizen to prepare for this. Our grandparents were preppers. They lived much more sustainable lives than we do now. During World War II, the president actually asked the people to grow victory gardens to lessen the demand on the grocery stores. Can you imagine if the president today asked Americans to grow victory gardens? Man, he'd get laughed off the stage, man. People have become so entitled nowadays, but I guess that's a conversation for another podcast. So where do we begin? All right, as preppers, especially somebody getting into it, it's really easy to get overwhelmed, and it's really easy to not know where to start. So before you begin, you should understand why you should prep. I think we covered that, but ask yourself these 3 questions. What scenarios are you concerned about? What's the likelihood of your specific scenario happening? And what do you have to protect? So going back, what scenarios are you concerned about? Do you live in Florida? Do you live in a place that is frequent to hurricanes, tropical storms, or even like a place like California that has earthquakes very frequently? You know, the big one's right around the corner. And even out here, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and you know, we keep being told that we're due for a gigantic earthquake. So I mean, I'm sure that within my lifetime, I'm going to experience a natural disaster that is at least the equivalent of like a Hurricane Katrina type situation. Keep this in mind. You know, I mean, this is very easily something that can happen to you. You know, are you concerned about a possible terrorist attack? Are you concerned about an economic collapse, World War III, or you know, even something as far out there as a zombie apocalypse? I've heard in internet message boards and stuff that I've checked out, people like to use the saying, if you're prepared for a zombie apocalypse, you're prepared for anything. So, you know, it's comical, but it is kind of true, you know, in some ways. But, you know, here's the real question, and something that you should be leaning towards here. What is the likelihood of your specific scenario happening? You know, you shouldn't start prepping for solar flares to end the civilization as we know it without first prepping for something simple like losing your job. You know, saving money and getting yourself out of debt is a really simple way to start prepping. I know it sounds basic, but it is basic. It's the most basic thing that you can do. Having enough food and water to survive a nuclear winter is great, but you need to start thinking about small disasters as well as big ones. So what do you have to protect? Are you alone? Is it just you? Do you have any pets? Do you have a family? If you do, you need to have preps for them. For example, if you have only one sleeping bag and you have a family of 4, you have no sleeping bag. This is really important, and this is something that I found as a prepper through experience. You know, I started prepping and I got all this cool gear for myself, but then I realized as I took my wife out camping that I only had gear for me because I'm a prepper on a budget like many of you. So, you know, it's really important to keep that in mind. You need to plan ahead, and you need to plan for your family. So the question is, how much do you need? Well, there is no blanket answer. It depends on how many people are in your group, the environment that you're in, the health of your group, and the amount of work that you'll be doing, and many, many more factors. The good thing is that it's easy to figure out in normal circumstances, though. You basically do this by keeping track of what you use in a week. Monitor your food, the amount of water that you drink, the medications that you take, etc. And this way, you can actually start keeping a log of what you use in a week. Make sure you track different weeks at different times of the year. This will let you find out peak times of the resources that you consume. You can find the average, and from there, find out what a month of supplies for your group would be. Okay, so this is a really easy way to start out, and you shouldn't try to overwhelm yourself initially. All right, it's extremely easy to, you know, get discouraged and to get overwhelmed when you're doing this. So don't set a big goal that is something that's unattainable initially. You know, set small goals and go from there. If you want to have, you know, 3 days worth of food, even 1 day worth of food in your house is better than nothing, you know. But shoot for something like a week of supplies initially, and then from there, if you get a week of all your supplies, you know, not just of food but of water too, and of other priorities that I'm going to go over here during this podcast. But you know, if you get that, move on to a month, and then move on to a few months, a year, and then there's techniques that you can do to become indefinitely independent and self-sustaining. So. And, you know, that's not a topic for this because this is 101, but, you know, we're going to delve pretty deep in the next, hour and a half or something like that. So you don't need to have 10,000 bullets if you don't have food for a month. You know, remember to prioritize. So that's very, very important, and it's something that you should be keeping in mind as you, begin this process. This is going to be a big journey for you. So anyway, at this time, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and I'll be back. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Support On the Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
And we're back. All right, everybody. How'd you like that ad, by the way? That was pretty good. By the way, that was my wife, Tasha Worley. She's helped me out with this, and I think we did a pretty decent job with that ad. It's a little better than the last time. I got some comments from some listeners about the quality of my ads, so I went ahead and put a little bit of effort into making them better. So thanks for your feedback, guys. I really appreciate it. All right, so when we left, the last thing I was talking about was remembering to prioritize. So there are specific priorities that I have come up with, and there's an order that I have them in. And I think the order is really important, and maybe you disagree, but for me, this is the order that I feel is the most important with your priorities. Now, some of these are extras. Some of these aren't 100% necessary for surviving small disasters, but if you're talking about a long, prolonged engagement or something, then this is something that's going to be important. So first, let me read off the priorities, and then we'll explain what each one is. The first priority of business during a natural disaster or emergency situation is going to be security, okay? And I know this sounds probably not something that you would think immediately, but in my opinion, security is extremely, extremely important. I'm coming from a security background. You know, I used to be security forces when I was in the Air Force, so I am security-minded almost all the time. So sometimes I'm lacking, but most of the time, security is always on my mind. So anyway, first one, security. Next one, shelter. That's severely important. In a cold environment where you're exposed to the elements, you can last for about 3 hours without good shelter, depending on the circumstance. So shelter is extremely critical. I would say the only thing more important than shelter, would be air. Air is, you can go I think 3 minutes without air. It's the rule of threes. You can go, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. So shelter is important. Water is the next one, super important. Nobody wants to die of dehydration. That is a bad way to go. It takes approximately 3 days to die from that, but you could die quicker depending on the amount of effort you're exerting and how dehydrated you are. So, and also the environment that you're in. If you're in a really hot environment, you're sweating like crazy, and you're moving around a lot, you can use up a lot of your water, and you can die pretty quickly without water. Medications. Now, this is really important. Diseases happen, but most importantly, if you are on some kind of medicine, it's really important to keep that in mind. You're going to need that. So, next one, food. Food is really important, but it's not the most important initially, because you can go 3 weeks without food. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be comfortable, but you can go. So, also you got to keep in mind fire and ways to cook, lighting, and some way to produce energy if you plan on, having some kind of renewable resource like that, for lighting or charging batteries or something. And the last level of communication, or last level of importance, is communication. So this is, I mean, some people may put that a little further up in there. In my opinion, this is the order my list goes. So, like I said, if you disagree with me, let me know. Feel free to, pipe in here. It's the number to call in is 619-924-0986, 619-924-0986. And again, you can email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com. So, okay, so moving forward here, let's talk about security. This is going to be a pretty long conversation because this is a huge, huge topic. All right, so first things first, there's no sense in getting anything else if you don't have the means to defend it, okay? But this is an easy topic to go overboard on, and perhaps I might even be going overboard on the presentation of the security. I know this is a one-on-one, but I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible to follow, okay? So most crimes are actually deterred from the mere presence of a firearm, but it's important that you only pull your weapon if you're prepared to use it. It doesn't serve you any good to pull a weapon, and if somebody doesn't believe that you're capable or willing to use that weapon can only be used at that point against you. It may be used as a deterrent, and they may run away, but you're putting yourself at risk. It's also important to make sure that you don't pull your firearm unless you absolutely have to use it. And the situation that you should do that is if you're going to lose, your life, your property, or someone's going to get seriously hurt if you don't. So keep that in mind. It's not something that should be pulled and used, any time that you feel the need. It's critical that you do that. These are basic firearm safety rules I'm giving you right now. But, I shouldn't be the one that should have to say it. Feel free. And I highly recommend anybody who buys a firearm, go through a basic firearm safety course and learn your weapon. Learn it. Understand how to use it. Practice it. It is so important that you have muscle memory when you're using weapons, because in a high-intensity, high-stress situation, you lose a lot of your dexterity. And if you're trying to figure out and remember how to load your gun or unload your gun while you're taking fire, you're not going to be functioning very well. It's going to be very difficult for you to accomplish even just simple tasks. Anyway, so I would highly recommend that you have a firearm for every member of your group, and basically members who will need one. If you have a small child or something, you don't need a gun for them, but anybody who plans on having a gun, and I recommend 100 rounds for each weapon. All right, and you can look at that as a week's supply of ammunition. All right, you can opt for less rounds per week if you like, but this is what I prefer. At 52 weeks out of the year, 100 rounds per individual for the week. That's 5,200 rounds per year. That may be a bit excessive, but only you can decide what your needs are. So, in my opinion, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So, this is just where I'm coming from. So, the real question now is, and by the way, before I even get into this, you may not even be a firearm person. So you may be somebody who's, for lack of a better word, a tree-hugging liberal or something like that doesn't like guns or whatever, and that's fine. Hey, to each their own. I'm not telling you this is the only way to prep, but this is the way I do. So, you can do whatever you want. If you want to get a baseball bat or if you want to kill them with kindness, that's on you. If you think that, and if you think firearms aren't the answer and you want to go old school with like a bow and arrow and, hand-to-hand combat, go right ahead, be my guest. But I'm not going to be doing that as a first and primary way of doing things, maybe as a last resort. So now the question is, what type of firearm should you get? Well, first thing, you want to find something that you can handle, all right? Each firearm has its pros and its cons, and it's important to find the right one for you. And again, it's important to find what you can handle and what you can understand. If you don't practice it and you don't want to get involved in it, simpler guns are going to be better for you. So let's start out first and foremost here with the shotgun, all right? Shotguns have many pros and cons, all right? The first of them, out of the pros, it doesn't shoot a single bullet like other guns. It has a wide spread of pellets and shot that it shoots out. which can hit multiple targets. This is a great thing, if you're trying to hit multiple targets in a close situation. It's also very powerful. And with that, there's many different types of ammunition that comes with shotguns, and gauges of shotguns as well. You have the 12 gauge, the 20 gauge, the 410 shot, and each one of those, I'm not sure if 20 gauge comes in double-aught buck, but 12 gauge, has double-aught buck. They got triple-aught buck, bird shot. There's also a specialty ammo that comes with all these things. The only gun, as far as for shotgun, just so you know, that I really have primary experience here is 12 gauge. I don't own a 20 gauge or a 410, but I do have experience with the 12 gauge shotgun from my time in the military. So, they are really cool, and a lot of people have different kind of ammunition you can get for it. Like I was saying, a buddy of mine when I was in the military, he told me that, I don't know if it's his story or if it's somebody else's, but he said that people go turkey hunting with this special kind of round in a shotgun, where it's these two ball bearings, and they're connected between each other with a wire. And when you shoot it, he can actually basically like decapitate turkeys when he goes turkey hunting with this kind of wire, or with this kind of shot, because the wire will just slice their head right off. It sounds pretty morbid and it's crazy, but anyway, that just gives you an idea as the kinds of specialty ammo that comes with it. They also have a kind of round that's called a dragon's breath. And by the way, this is just the tip of the specialty rounds they have. There's so many different kinds of rounds for shotguns. But Dragon's Breath, it basically turns your shotgun into a flamethrower. There's a few videos I've seen on YouTube. It's pretty intense. So, that can definitely be a good shock and awe kind of ammunition. So, anyway, shotguns are also very reliable. They're easy to use, and because of that relative ease of using and aiming, because of the spread, like I was talking about before, you don't really have to aim as hard as you would and have as much skill as you would to shoot like a rifle or something. You don't have to be as accurate. And because of this, it allows you to fire from the hip if you needed to. Now, I probably just angered all the shotgun shooters out there. I apologize. I'm not trying to say that you can't shoot or that you're not good at shooting. But, it's just my opinion. You don't have to be as accurate when you're using a shotgun. So it allows people with less skill to be able to take out targets. It's a really great weapon for close quarters, which makes it good for home defense. You can actually create what they call a fatal funnel, and basically if you're pointing this at the doorway of your house or of your bedroom or something, if you are pointing it at the doorway, you're going to hit whoever comes through. Nobody's coming through that doorway as long as you got ammo, unless they got some kind of like special weapons and tactics or something, like they're coming in with some flashbangs or something. But it's a really useful weapon for that. Another great aspect of it is that you can use this gun to take out birds while they're in the air with bird shot. It's a wide spread of small little BB-like pellets, and then you can also use this to hit other game, like small game and big game. I'm pretty sure you can actually take out a elk with even just a double-aught buck. I don't have a whole bunch of hunting experience, so this is just my guess. But seeing the stuff that I've seen double-aught buck, destroy, I can't imagine a elk would stand a chance at that, or any big game animal for that matter. Maybe, there's probably some out there that they wouldn't be able to handle, but I can't imagine it not being able to take out an elk. Anyway, I probably just showed my inexperience when it comes to hunting, but I want to learn. Don't judge me, please. I'm trying to get into hunting myself, so that's another part of preparedness. So keep that in mind. Also, shotguns are very inexpensive in terms of firearms. They are, I've seen them as low as like $200. Well, actually, I've seen them as low as $100. I saw one actually. Now that I think about it, in a pawn shop, is a single shot breech loader, 410, and I think it was going for like $65. So you can find a shotgun really, really cheap. And if you're a prepper on a budget, this can be a really beneficial item for you. So keep that in mind. anything is better than nothing. So it's important to have some form of protection. Even if it is a single shot shotgun, it's still better than nothing. So one great thing about shotguns is that they are intimidating. The look of them, and even like the sound of the pump action of a shotgun, it's intimidating. It inspires fear. People know that sound of the people know what a shotgun sound is, and if somebody was breaking in your house and they don't have a gun and they hear they're gonna get the heck out of there real quick. So keep that in mind. That's a good benefit. It's intimidating. So there's many different sizes and models of shotguns too. They have semi-automatic, so you can just, each time you pull the trigger, a bullet a round is shot out of there. So that's pretty cool when it comes to shotguns. A lot of competition skeet shooters use semi-automatic. So another, like I said, the pump action, they have pump actions. They have double barrels. They have single barrel breech loaders, and they even have shotgun pistols. I saw in a magazine not too long ago this old school looking pistol shotgun that was used back in the day to kill jaguars in the jungle. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean they have a bunch of different things that you can do with a shotgun, and it can be basically customizable to fit your needs. So as far as the cons, all right, that was the pros. Here's the cons. It's not a single bullet, like I said. It has a wide spread, and it can hit multiple targets. So if you're trying to, shoot somebody and that person is relatively close to the person that you don't want to shoot, you have a potential of hitting a target that you didn't intend on. So that's a real big problem. So each firearm has their own specific things that they're good for, and that's just not one that the shotgun is good for. It is powerful, like I said, but that power comes with a price. It has a lot of kick, and it may be too powerful. So, I've gone shooting shotguns before, and after shooting shotguns for like maybe 20 minutes or something, my shoulder's killing me. So, if that's something that's a concern to you, and you want to be able to get a gun that you can shoot all day, maybe a shotgun, especially a 12 gauge, double-aught buck or something. That's it's probably not the one for you. So. It may be too powerful, and you may not be physically capable of shooting it. It may knock you right over. If you're a small woman or an elderly person or something, you may not be capable of doing it. But hey, don't take my word for it. You try it yourself. Feel free, But that's just my opinion. It's important to make sure that you pick the right gun for yourself. So, one other negative thing about a shotgun is that they're not very easy to conceal. Unless you have like a shotgun pistol or something, they are a lot harder to conceal than like a pistol or something. But they are bigger, they're bulkier. It's hard to hide them, and they're also loud. So if you're shooting indoors in a home defense situation, which is what they're used for, man, those things deliver quite a loud shot. So, you may be hearing bad for the next few days, or even, you may lose some hearing for the rest of your life. So just keep that in mind. That's another thing that's a problem. One other problem here with the shotgun is that the spread gets wider the further away you get. So if you're trying to shoot a target and your spread would normally be, at like 15 meters or something like that, your spread would normally be like 4 or 5 inches or something. As they get further away, that spread becomes wider and wider, and we get back to that same topic I was talking about before, where you can hit multiple targets, and you can hit unintended targets. So keep that in mind. All right, moving on to the next type of next type of weapon is the rifle. First off here, we'll go with the pros. The pros of a rifle is they are the most accurate weapon at longer range. You're not going to find a bearable weapon, a weapon that you can bear in your hands and carry with you that is more accurate than a rifle, especially like a bolt action style rifle. Some of those are extremely accurate out to distances up to like a mile or more. So Snipers use these weapons, bolt-action rifles, but the AR-15 and AK-47 for prepping purposes and even battle purposes is considered the standard battle weapon. All right. They're very powerful. They have knockdown power and penetration power. The different calibers of the bullets will determine how much knockdown power and penetration power they have. The AK-47 has more power than the AR-15, but the AR-15 is more accurate than the AK-47. So there's give and take, and also bolt action rifles. They have they can come in really high calibers. I mean, you can go get like a 50 caliber rifle, and man, that thing's got some power to reach out there and touch someone. So anyway, rifles such as the AR-15 and the AK-47, they can be used for home defense. They come in many different sizes and calibers and stuff like that, which can alter and change the usefulness in home defense. Anyway, there are many different types of rifles. There's semi-automatic magazine-fed rifles, like I was saying, AR-15 and AK-47. There's bolt-action rifles, like the 50 caliber sniper rifles that you have. They have old school, like lever action that you've seen in the cowboy movies and stuff. Lever action rifles, those are cool. And they also have really old school, we're kicking it revolutionary style here with muzzle-loaded weapons. And there's other kinds of weapons out there as well. But one thing I'd like to mention about the muzzle-loaded weapons is that there is a way to reload regular bullets. All right, so you can take your brass after you shoot, and you can reload it and make new bullets. Okay, but you have to have the supplies on hand. Okay. Muzzle loaders are really cool for preppers, and keep this in mind. If you've seen the show Revolution, you've seen it happen in that. But you can create your own bullets really easy with a muzzle loader. All you need to do is melt down what you're going to use as a bullet and have a cast basically to mold it, a mold to put the bullets in. So I don't have this capability. I'm just talking about something that I want to do, and I want to get to that point. But anyway, I thought I'd just mention it. So anyway, the rifle, like the battle rifle, it can be used really well in close quarters, and it's really good in medium and longer range environments. It's got adaptable platforms, such as there's accessories and equipment you can add to your rifle to make it specialized, different scopes and magnifiers and red dots and stuff like that. Things that you can use to enhance your utilization of this weapon. There's different kinds of ammo types too. They have like hollow point style ammunition in rifle, and they got tracers so you can see where your bullets are going. It's important to also note that tracers work both ways. So if you're shooting a tracer round where it has like the phosphorus streak that you can see where you're hitting, you're also letting your enemy know where you are, where the bullets are coming from. So keep that in mind. One cool thing about the AR-15 M4 style weapon, M16 style weapon, I actually saw once that the Israelis have this kind of like rocket that you can slide into the barrel of an M16, and you can shoot a rocket out of the M16, and they use it to breach doors in Israel. So I thought that was pretty cool. Notable that it's got a whole bunch of different uses for it. So anyway, depending on what kind of gun you have, the reliability may vary. So if you're investing in an AK-47, that is going to be one of the most reliable battle rifles that you can purchase. I've seen some crazy torture tests with AK-47. I saw one where these guys put a Twinkie inside the bolt of inside the chamber of an AK-47, and then they racked it and mushed it all around in there and stuff, and then they loaded a magazine and they fired, and it shot. At first they had to kind of do like a bolt action style. They shoot a jam, they slide it forward, they shoot a jam, and slide it forward. After like 3 shots, though, they were able to just shoot without having to slide the bolt forward anymore. So, that is unheard of reliability. People, have been known to be able to shoot AK-47s. They've been buried in the sand and mud for years, and they still work. these guns are so awesome when it comes to prepping, Now, but with that, and it's because there's like a looser tolerance inside of them, from what I have been told, and they are not as fine-tuned as like the AR-15. AR-15 is like really tightly packed, all the action inside there, and because of that, if you add any gunk in there like a Twinkie, it's not going to work. So, but the AK-47, pretty reliable, ultra reliable. AR-15, I like the AR-15. It's a really good platform, ultra accurate. It's got a whole bunch of versatility. There's a lot of ways that you can use that, but again, one negative thing about the reliability on it is that if it gets dirty, it will jam. So keep that in mind. And it depends on the model and the manufacturer that you get your AR-15 from. It does, however, basically all models. I haven't tried out the piston-operated AR-15s, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have the increased reliability equal to an AK-47, but from the gas impingement systems that we used in the military, they are nowhere near the quality and reliability of an AK-47 when it comes to firing without jams and whatnot. So AK-47 is my personal preference for a battle rifle, but that's just me. You choose what fits you. So anyway, they are also rifles have the ability to reload very fast. They have external magazines, like I said, AK-47, AR-15. This doesn't apply to bolt-action rifles and stuff like that. Most of those have internal magazines that are fed similar to like a shotgun is. But the AR-15, AK-47, they have a large magazine capacities. You can get extended clips, 30, 40 rounds, or even get like those big drum magazines that can hold like 100 rounds or some crazy stuff like that. Those have the tendency of jamming sometimes, so keep that in mind. Anyway, these style of rifles are available in semi-automatic, burst, full auto. It just depends on what you're willing to pay for. Semi-automatic means every time I pull the trigger, boom, one round comes out. So if I'm pulling the trigger, boom, pull the trigger, boom, pull the trigger, boom. If I hold it down, it doesn't matter, only one bullet comes out. In a burst mode, if I pull the trigger, boom, 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 3 rounds come out. That's it. And maybe less if it's gun jams. So in a full auto, that's self-explanatory. Boom, 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 boom. It just keeps going. So until you're out of bullets. Okay. So those are all available in rifles. Anyway, these kind of rifles, these style of rifles, are used by every modern military on the planet. All right. Because of this, it makes the ammunition widely available. These weapons are also extremely intimidating, and if somebody sees them pointed at them, they're going to have like a whole lot of feelings going on. They're going to be really worried about what's going on. Rifles in general are pretty much a standard hunting weapon. Okay, so now I'm not referring to so much the AR-15 and AK-47, which they can be used for hunting. I'm not saying that they can't. However, they are not typically, for big game hunting, they're not typically what you use. And also many states have laws that prevent you from using anything more than 5 or 10 rounds to hunt with. So in that case, you can still use an AK-47. You just have to get a special mag for it, or an AR-15. You just got to get a special mag that's only capable of holding that much. But anyway, like bolt-action rifles, those are pretty much like standard hunting weapons that most people use. So it can be used to put food on the table. As far as the cons of a rifle, they're very difficult to conceal. They're bigger, they're bulkier. The higher the caliber of the bullet, the bigger the gun's probably going to be. That doesn't apply all the time, but they're hard to conceal. So everybody's going to know that you got that if you're out there walking around with it. And like I said, the reliability may vary. So, you could get a cheap, off-brand gun or something because you thought you were getting a good deal, and you could just have, this piece of crap gun that is not able to fire. I've had my experiences with having bad guns that have a lot of reliability problems. And honestly, that's what drove me to the AK-47. I was done with dealing with my weapon jamming. So I went with a gun that is the most reliable gun that you can possibly get. and be the most versatile in most situations. But anyway, if you use like an AR-15 or a gun with tighter tolerances or something, they're going to require more cleaning. The shotgun, I've shot shotguns and they've been filthy before, and I went off without a hitch. And a lot of that's because the action is manual. I'm racking in a new round manually on my own, so it doesn't really matter how dirty that gun gets. It's not going to jam because I'm the one doing it. It has its limits, and obviously if it's rusting, it's going to get seized up there and you may have to clean it, but it's not as difficult to the shotgun is more reliable in that terms than like a rifle would be, and they may require more cleaning. This is all general, just depends on the style of rifle that you have and what the environment is that it's in, okay? Also, this goes back to what I was saying with the shotgun. This may be too powerful for you depending on the caliber and the person using the weapon. So, keep that in mind. If it's a powerful weapon, that's great. It can stop an attacker and, end it right there on the spot. But if you can't shoot it without knocking yourself to the ground, then it does you no good. If you miss the shot, you may need to do a follow-up shot. And if you're laying on your back, that doesn't really help you much. So, that's something that you need to keep in mind. So find a caliber that's right for you. There are like lesser calibers in rifles. It even goes down all the way to like 22. And, a 22 is not going to, I don't know any person that can't shoot a 22. In fact, I highly recommend if you don't shoot, start out with a 22. It's going to be a great way to introduce you to firearms and to basically get you a little hands-on experience, and you won't have to fear the kick of the weapon because there's practically no kick. So that's a great way to go if you're new to firearms. Another con for rifles is they are typically more expensive than other weapons, especially if you get the Gucci kind of shot or Gucci kind of rifles that have like all the bells and whistles and like Picatinny rails and all that good stuff, like all the optics and stuff like that. You can spend a lot of money, like up to like a few thousand. If you get a full auto weapon, man, you could have like a $10,000 or $15,000 weapon, right out the box, depending on the situation. So. Just keep it in mind, this is an expense that is going to be a good benefit to you, but it's expensive. It's a big investment to do that. So just keep that in mind. Also know that these firearms could be banned in the future. It seems like this is a target for all these left-wing, people in Congress and in our government, our president. They're all trying to ban rifles. Typically, and it is odd because rifles are not the weapons that kill the most people every year in gun violence. Pistols kill more people by far, and as far as rifles kill less people every year than fists and blunt objects and knives. So not many people are dying from rifles. So anyway, keep that in mind. Rifles are also loud, but you can also purchase a suppressor to lessen that sound. That would be a good investment, but you got to go through a whole process to get that and jump through hoops. But it can help you if you're using it for home defense or you're in an enclosed area, close quarter combat kind of situation, and you shoot it and you don't have hearing protection, because that will allow you to not blow out your eardrums trying to defend yourself. So keep that in mind. It may not also be the best choice for home defense. You can use it, but the bullets have really good penetration power, and they can go through walls, and because of that, you can hit unintended targets. This depends entirely on your situation. If you're alone and you're out in the middle of nowhere, you don't have to worry about this. But if you're living in an apartment and you have neighbors, on each side of you and above you and below you, this is something that you may need to consider, because you're not only putting your family in your home at risk in using a rifle to defend your home, but you need to have a situation where everyone is protected. So anyway, at this point we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and I appreciate you guys staying with me, and here we go.
On the Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
All right, we are back. Thank you for staying with us. All right, like I said before, guys, if you'd like to call in and join this conversation, the guest call-in number is 619-924-0986. 619-924-0986. All right. Or you can also actually email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com. And I just want to see here. I'm checking the emails. No emails here from anybody. Okay, good to go. All righty. So, first things first here. Let's get back to where we were. And, all righty. Moving on, we're off of rifles now. We're back to pistols. And let's see here. We're going to start out with the pros on the pistols and move to the cons. So, pros. For pistols, this is a great weapon because it's really easily concealable. They have their uses specifically, and it makes them it makes them usable in places where you might not be able to have a firearm. So, you don't necessarily want to advertise to everybody that you have a pistol or a firearm on you. So the fact that they're concealable, and we do have concealed carry permits available and whatnot, which I'm not even going to get started on why I disagree with having to have a concealed carry permit in the first place, but that's a topic for another day. But anyway, they're very concealable, and they're good for that purpose. They're also pretty accurate, especially in close quarter range, kind of closer to medium range. They come in many different types and calibers. I would highly recommend like a 40 caliber or higher. If you can't get that, or you don't want to do that because you can't handle it, then I would also recommend a 9mm. That's adequate. But it ranges from weak to powerful, and it has the actual calibers of a pistol can be pretty powerful. They can actually have penetration pretty far. So there's many different types of bullets. It ranges from like full metal jacket, hollow point rounds, snake rounds. One good benefit of a pistol, they have quick reloads, and you just hit the magazine release button, pull out your new mag, slide in the new bag, put the slide forward. And that's a good benefit to be able to reload that quickly. They have a pretty large magazine capacity. You can have additional extended mags and stuff. They come like 30-something, 40-something rounds I've seen before, and a lot of police and military use pistols obviously as a duty weapon, which makes a lot of the calibers widely available for purchasing. Anyway, the reliability varies depending on the type of weapon you have, and I personally prefer a Glock pistol. That's just me. It's simple, it's reliable, and it can get the job done. And it has calibers high enough and capable of basically ending the threat. So, some people like revolvers, and that's fine. If that's what you like, that's fine. But I prefer to have more than 6 rounds in case I need it. And some people say that if you need more than 6 rounds and you got no business having a gun, well, all right, that's your opinion, but I'd prefer to have as many rounds as possible. And if you have different kinds of brands, like I said, revolvers are extremely reliable. They are very simple, mechanically speaking, weapons. And, a Glock is very reliable. I've seen a lot of torture tests on them. But, when you start buying, like, cheaper off-brands, you run the risk of having a weapon that could jam. But, again, there are some diamonds out there that are really, really cheap. So, one thing about a pistol is that they're a great backup weapon. I wouldn't use them as my main battle weapon, but they're good in a pinch, and they're also good for home defense. And one thing about home defense, we were talking about bullets going through walls. Well, you can get hollow point rounds for your pistols, and those hollow points don't go through the walls very well. Anyway, I see we have a caller here, and just so you know who I am talking to here on the line, I'm going to just read off the last 2 digits of your phone number so you know who I'm picking up here on. And here we go. Caller with the last 2 digits of 98 in their phone number. You are live on the air. How you doing? Caller, you there? Hello? All right, it's good talking to you. Okay. All right, so I don't know what happened there, but we'll try it again in a minute here. I got you on mute, so if you want to stay on the line, I'll bring you back in a few seconds. So anyway, we're moving on to the cons of a pistol. All right, so what are some negatives of a pistol? What are some issues with them? What are their limitations? Well, first of all, they're not suitable for longer range. You're not going to be able to, shoot a target out there like 1,000 meters. It's just not. It's not going to happen reliably. If you do, it'll be very, very lucky. All right. They're also not suitable as a primary battle weapon or for hunting. You can use them, but I wouldn't recommend it. You'd have a lot better luck getting a weapon that is specifically designed for that purpose. My weapon, actually, excuse me, I'm skipping ahead here. It doesn't have the stopping power of a rifle or a shotgun. All right, so that's a negative thing about a pistol. It can have, especially depending on what caliber you're choosing, it can have really good stopping power. But a lot of them typically aren't going to be anywhere near the match of a rifle or especially a shotgun in terms of stopping power. They're smaller, so they may be harder to hang on to in a struggle. So let's say you're coming around a corner and you got your gun poking out or something, and somebody grabs your gun real quick from you. Because it's so small, you may not be able to maintain your grip on that weapon so easily, and they could rip it right out of your hands as you guys are in a struggle. Like a larger weapon, like a shotgun or something, there's a lot more of that weapon to hang on to. So, it's a lot easier for you to keep a hold of that thing. And as far as pistols, reliability varies depending on the type. Like I was saying, if you have like a Glock or a revolver or something, those things are going to be really reliable, most likely. You may get the dud in the bunch, but typically, a lot of your jamming and stuff like that comes from like off or like cheap brands of firearms where you tried to save a buck or something and you bought a gun that was not as expensive or not from a well-known manufacturer. And that can typically lead to you having a gun that is more finicky. But, one good thing about it is if you buy a gun that has a lifetime warranty from the manufacturer and you have an issue with it, you can always send it to the manufacturer. You may have to pay for shipping, but the manufacturer will then basically fix it for you and for free, but you still have to pay for shipping back and forth. So pistols can be pretty loud depending on the caliber. But again, like rifles, there are suppressors that can be purchased. Actually, there's suppressors that can be purchased for shotguns too. I should mention that. But anyway, it's like I said, it's a big process to buy suppressors, and you got to jump through a lot of hoops in order to get that. So keep that in mind. It's pretty expensive. So the price range of a pistol is typically medium range. But depending on the kind you get, if you want to save a buck, you can buy a cheap pistol. You can buy a cheap revolver. I mean, there's tons of those out there. And you can also upgrade and get like a crazy new 1911 looking all pretty and chromed out or gold plated or something. And those can be really, really expensive. But typically, I mean, you can get a Glock for like, $400, $450, something like that. That's not that expensive, and those are very reliable firearms. I personally like the Glock. That's just me. Some people don't, but that's just me. It's my favorite pistol anyway. Anyway, my weapon recommendations for a prepper on a budget would be, if you could only afford one firearm and you don't have a lot of experience too, a good first weapon would be a pump-action shotgun. Like I said before, they're the less expensive of the bunch. You can get one for like $60 if it's the breech-loaded single shot. But typical pump-action shotgun, you can find them for about $200 or maybe less, depending on where you're shopping. They're easy to shoot, and you should, however, work towards getting a rifle and a pistol too. But like I said, each weapon fills a specific role, and it's important to find one that fits your needs. What role do you need filled? And no one knows this better than you do. So make sure you ask and answer this question. Anyway, I have another caller on the line here. Same caller with last two digits, 98. You are on the air. How you doing?
What's up? What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's your name?
James.
Hey, James. How's it going? What do you want to talk about?
Good. Oh man, I was hearing your conversation about the AK-47. I'm right there with you on that. I have a AKMS underfolder, and that thing is by far the best, most reliable rifle I've ever dealt with in my life.
How do you like the underfolder on that?
Oh, I love it.
For those of you who don't know, underfolder is where the buttstock can be slid down, and it basically goes under the weapon, making it so your gun is a lot shorter. So, but yeah, I've actually seen the underfolders. Those are really awesome weapons. Has that thing ever jammed on you when you went out and shot it?
No, it's never jammed. Not one time.
That's pretty cool. How many rounds you put through it?
A few hundred. Did have some issues with some ammo. But,
what happened?
This one Romanian type ammo I was using, actually, the casing exploded inside the weapon. It did damage the weapon, but it just kind of broke in half. But that's the only malfunction I had. I usually use the cheap Russian steel ammo.
Oh, you're talking about like the Tula ammo or the Wolf stuff?
Yep. That stuff has never failed on me.
Good stuff, yeah. So what was the kind of ammo that you bought? Do you remember the brand that exploded in your chamber there?
Yeah, I don't remember the brand. Some Romanian brand.
So stay away from Romanian ammo, I guess. Probably angered a bunch of Romanian ammo manufacturers.
Yeah, it was brass soft tip. So I usually I've been using the full metal jacket.
Okay. All right. Well, that's cool. Is there anything else you'd like to pipe in on here and give your take on?
No, I was just agreeing with you with the AK. I served in the military and dealt with the M4. I dug it, but ARs in a situation where you're out in the field, it's not too good.
Yep.
And I agree with you with the self-defense weapon. If you're new to it, the shotgun is perfect because you don't have to aim, you don't have to be accurate, you don't have to be too knowledgeable, and it's shoot and hit your target.
And that's the goal. You're forced to defend yourself. You don't need bells and whistles. You just need to eliminate the threat. So that's why I choose the shotgun as a primary weapon, but for home defense and for the prepper on a budget who's new. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm a Glock man too. Right with you. I like the Glock.
What kind of Glock you got?
Glock 22 and a Glock 30.
Okay, the 22 that's a 40 cal, and the 30 that's the compact version of the 45, right?
Yep, that's the small version of the 21.
How do you like the Glock 30?
I like it. I like it a lot. The Glock 30, I like it for concealing. The Glock 22 is an awesome battle pistol.
Yeah, I actually have a 22. Yeah. That's my favorite pistol.
I like how you can interchange the barrels and the different calibers, 9mm, 357. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, they have a bunch of versatility, and one good thing about Glock too is that they have a bunch of accessories and attachments that you can put. You can get little flashlights and stuff like that, and you can have the tritium night sights and stuff so that you can see your target, where you're actually shooting at night. It really is a big benefit, because if you can't see what you're shooting at, you're basically up a paddle or up a creek without a paddle there.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you calling in, and if you want to stay on the line, feel free. We can talk some more when I get back from break here. I'm about to hit the break button though, and I'll be right back. Thanks for calling in.
Support On the Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
And we are back. Okay. All right, so I know I've been in your ear a lot on security and firearms and stuff like that, but I'm not going to stop. We're still on security. All right. And by the way, I'm noticing here, this is a big, long show here. We have a show that's been going on for, almost an hour and 15 minutes. This is the easiest show topic I've had to talk about since I've been doing this. I felt like I've been struggling at some points to fill some time, but this one is just really organic. It's flowing naturally, and I'm having a real good time. I hope you guys are too. If you want to tune in and talk about what's going on here, the guest call-in line is 619-924-0986, 619-924-0986. Or you can email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com. And again, if you're hearing this show on the archive and you want to get your point across, if you have something that you want to say, feel free to email me at onthemoveshow@gmail.com, and I'll read your email off on the air on the next episode, if I have time for it. So I will do my best to get to it. So, all right, looks like we have another caller here on the line. And I'm going to see if you're there. If you're there, this is a weird number here. It ends with 11, and you are on the air now. How you doing, caller? Hello? Oh, guess we had a bad line there. All right. No worries. All right, so moving forward, and we are going to talk more about security, okay? I'll try to cover this quickly and move to the other aspects so we don't run out of time, because all we've talked about so far is security. So, all right, there's other aspects of security basically there's many other security measures that you can do other than having a firearm that you can implement easily, and it will greatly enhance the security that you have. All right, those are force multipliers, rehearsed plans of actions, duress words, sign and countersign techniques, and OPSEC techniques. Very first thing, what is a force multiplier? All right, a force multiplier is anything that can be used to delay, deny, confuse, or startle your enemy, or something that will give you an edge on the enemy. Okay, so what is that? That would be an obstacle, a trap, a smoke bomb, some kind of motion-activated lights, or a sound that would be used to create something that would startle your enemy. You can even use dogs, water. If you have a sprinkler system, you turn it on your enemy, or maybe like a body of water that they have to swim through. That's something that can be used to delay and deny, confuse or startle your enemy, okay? You can also use like security cameras. Security cameras are like having additional eyes out there telling you what's going on. So keep that stuff in mind. Those are great force multipliers. Now moving forward here, why is it important to rehearse plans of actions? Well, we heard earlier in the ad for FEMA why it's important for us to share our plans and rehearse our plans and not to fly by the seat of our pants. All right, I won't play the commercial again for you. Don't worry. I know they're kind of boring, but anyway, it's important for us to rehearse and actually share the plan with the other members of the group. Don't just keep it to yourself. Practice it. Make sure everybody knows it. Practice it all the time. Don't let it go too long without practicing your plan, because it's easy to forget certain aspects of it, especially if it's a long and complicated plan. It's important to remember, as I said before, in high-stress environments, it's easy to get confused, and it's really difficult to think on your feet under all that stress, especially in a life-and-death situation. You don't want to have to remember the plan. You want it to be second nature. So it's great to know what to do in each scenario, even if separated from your group. It's important to have contingency plans. All right, the next thing I was saying was duress words. So what exactly are duress words? Duress words are key words that can be interjected discreetly into normal conversation to let your allies know that you're under duress. Duress, if you're not sure what that word means, it means that there's something going on, and you're I should have had the definition prepared here, but yeah, basically you're either under attack or you're being held hostage or something. Maybe you got somebody next to you that's pointing a gun at your back, and you want to let everybody around you know without letting the person with the gun at your back know that you just told them. So it allows you to tip off your friends of a duress situation without letting the enemy know. You want to use words that you would normally never use in a conversation to avoid accidentally using the word, basically. So you don't want it to be somebody's name in your group, but you also don't want to pick like a word that's too complicated for you to remember, or something average that would just slide by in the conversation and people wouldn't notice. It's really, really important to choose a word that will pop out at you and that no one will forget. Don't forget the word. I've seen this when I was in the military. We were doing like duress word checks and to see if somebody knew what the duress word was, and then we would say the word, interject it in the conversation, and they wouldn't even notice. That's just pitiful, man. You need to know your duress word. Memorize that thing and don't forget it. And also, don't play around with that word. Don't go using that word all willy-nilly, all right? Make sure that you only use that word when it is an emergency, or when you are actually under duress. Take it very seriously so that when it's used, others know it's real. You don't want to go crying wolf on this thing, all right? This could be a word that could save your life. So the next thing, what are signs and countersigns? Well, you've probably seen it used in World War II movies. If you saw back in some of those movies or series, I think Band of Brothers is one of them that I've seen it in, where they were like, flash. One guy yells flash, and then the other guy coming around the corner is like thunder. And that will allow you to yell out to a potential threat. You see somebody moving around, but you're not sure if they're friend and foe because it's dark, or maybe they're around a corner you hear scuffling or something. You yell flash, and they don't yell thunder back, you know that's not your ally. You know that's not somebody that you should let your guard down on. So that's really, really important to keep that in mind. Obviously don't use the words flash and thunder because a lot of people know it. But it will allow you to distinguish whether a target is friend or foe. And you need to come up with words that you'll remember. And this is the same with the duress words. Practice using the words. and keep it secret. There's no point in having a sign and countersign words if you have it like posted on your wall or something, you know, in your house. Like, remember to yell this word. If I yell that word, it's not going to help you. It doesn't do the trick. So, since we're talking about keeping it secret, let's move on to the next topic here of OPSEC. All right, what is OPSEC and why is it important? First, let me just say I am currently breaking every rule of OPSEC. It's almost hilarious how bad of OPSEC I am practicing right now. But it's too late for me. Save yourself. Don't do as I do. Do as I say. Okay. OPSEC stands for Operational Security. All right. It means keep your secrets a secret. Don't share with the whole world that you are a prepper. All right. Don't do what I'm doing right now, unless you just you don't care. All right. But I'm at the point now where I don't care. To me, it's more important for me to inspire people and get people out there on the move than it is for me to hide my secret, because I think we're at such a critical point in time that I need to wake up as many people to the dangers that's going on in the world as possible. So anyway, back to what I was saying here. Even if you don't listen to me or whatever, if you start telling people that you're a prepper, not only will it make you look like a weirdo to most people, because people just can't wrap their head around it. A lot of people these days don't understand it. But anyone that you tell is now part of your plan, whether or not you like it or not. Keep in mind that if you tell one person and something actually does happen, they can bring way more people to your location than what you had originally intended, as well as themselves. So keep this in mind, okay? You may be taking care of their immediate family, their distant relatives, and even their friends. If the world as we know it was really ending, would you seriously leave behind everyone that you know and love to save just yourself? No, you wouldn't. And everybody knows that, so you can only blame yourself when, the person that you told shows up at the door with 20 people, all right? I know it's important to network and build a team, but be 100% sure to let that if you let someone know on your secret that it's somebody that is going to be, reliable, beneficial to your team, and, somebody who's not going to go blabbing it around to everybody, okay? But, if you tell them, you need to know who they're going to bring. This is a conversation you need to have ahead of time, and because of that, you need to plan those members already, okay? Be prepared for the additional members to the group that adding even one person means. Keep in mind that if you're planning on turning people away who know about your plans, it might not work out as you planned. All right? People would rather see supplies burn if they can't have them. Not all people, but some people, some kind of people, and especially in a life and death situation where they think that they have to get those supplies, or they're angry at you for not sharing those supplies because, again, like I said earlier, people are friggin' entitled. People think that they deserve something that you put away, the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into your preps, the money, the time, the thought, all that. They don't care. They want your preps. If they're about to die, they'd rather burn your house down with you and your supplies in it than to see you be the only one to survive the apocalypse by yourself, So keep that in mind. I saw a Twilight episode back in the day that dealt with this very subject, and this is one thing that really stuck with me, and I always look back on it, and I've had this situation happen first before I get into the story about the Twilight episode, where people had found out that I was somewhat of a prepper. They didn't know how far into it I was, but they kind of knew that I had guns and that I prepped a little bit, and they were talking about what they would do, and I was kind of quiet and keeping to myself in the corner. I wasn't at work, and I was not like tuning in on the conversation, but I was listening, and they were like, well, what would you do in a apocalyptic scenario? I think they were watching a movie or something while at work, and I think they were watching a zombie movie actually, and this is the first time it happened to me, and it scared the crap out of me as soon as it happened. One of the guys there was like, well, I just go to Worley's house. And I'm like, oh, crap. I have failed. I did not include you in my preps. And you got a family. I can't, I'm thinking all this stuff in my head. And now I'm realizing that, I have made a crucial error in my OPSEC. So that's something to keep in mind. Anyway, so back to the Twilight episode. This guy, it was his birthday, and he's got all his neighbors and some family around to celebrate his birthday, and they're all singing songs and lighting candles, and he's blowing out his candles on his birthday cake. And then they start making fun of him. And this is taking place back during the Cold War, when there was a threat of nuclear war between Russia and America. All right? So they started making fun of him about how he's been tinkering in his bomb shelter every night, trying to get ready, and they're like, oh, you're crazy, that'll never happen. Typical denial, okay? So, obviously it didn't happen, so maybe it's not so much typical denial, but it could have happened very easily, all right? So, anyway, for the purpose of the story, he was saying that he just finished, and he was so excited that he was done with his bomb shelter, and that he was berating them for not doing any planning and not preparing for what the possibility of nuclear war could have been. And anyway, the over the radio something comes in, and they're like, oh, this is breaking news. There's a nuclear weapon headed our way. Everybody prepare for the explosion. It'll be here in 30 minutes. And everybody starts freaking out, and the party ends, and people go home. And the guy who built the bomb shelter, he's kicking it into high gear, man. He's filling water containers, and everybody has their own role to fill in his family. His son and his wife are doing things that they already knew that they were supposed to do, and he's doing his own things. And they're loading everything up into the bomb shelter and getting ready. And they're in there. Within like 10 minutes, they're inside their bomb shelter. Well, they close the door, they seal it up. There they are. Now, his neighbors know that he's got a bomb shelter in his basement, and they are terrified that they're going to die. So slowly they start trickling in, saying, hey, let us in your bomb shelter. And the guy's like, hey, I can't let you in. I only have enough air. If these filters only can support 3 people breathing, and there's 3 of us in here. If you come in, we'll all die. So I can't open the door. Get out of here, And the people out there start, more people start flooding in and getting angry. And then they're out there screaming at him, open the door. And they start getting a battering ram to knock down the door. They're breaking this door into the bomb shelter. And this is what I was saying earlier. They would rather see it burn, because now that door is useless, and this bomb shelter is useless. You're not going to be able to keep out radioactive particles with a door busted wide open. What's the point of even getting in there now? No point. People panic. So anyway, they're breaking in the door, and then over the radio comes, oh, false alarm, and everybody feels real silly as they're in the process of kicking in his door, and they all slowly kind of like mosey on home, But anyway, that's just something to think about, and something that a real life situation that could possibly happen, by oversharing your plans. Okay, we're finally done with security. Oh my goodness. There we go. That was a long time talking about security. I appreciate everyone hanging in with me on that one. All right, the guest call-in number is 619-924-0986, 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at onthemoveshow@gmail.com. All right, let's see here. I have a link here from one of the listeners here. He sent a picture here of the Twinkie a video of the Twinkie Torture test. I appreciate you sending me that. That is the exact one I saw, and it's pretty awesome too. So anyway, let me see here. Looking through. Alrighty, so all right, so we're going to go ahead and cut to a quick commercial break. I appreciate everybody hanging with me, and if you call in, I will be back in 1 minute and 18 seconds, and we can talk before we move on to the other topics. All right, thanks for sticking with us.
support On the Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
And we are back. Okay, so I think I messed up when I was talking about the episode I was just describing. That was a Twilight Zone episode. I don't know if I said zone, but Twilight Zone. So, moving on, we're moving on to shelters. Okay, this one's really, really simple and basic. All right, but you want to have a place to lay your head. Okay, you need some place to keep you out of the elements. Okay. It's best to have a place that's away from population centers. A bug-out location is a great idea, but at least have a place where you can stay inside for weeks, if not months at a time, if the situation required. All right. So if that's not possible, if the ideal situation for a bug-out location is not going to happen, just look around your house or apartment for ways to make it more defensible and secure. Okay. So do the best you can with what you have. I mean, that's what it ultimately comes down to. As I said before, in extreme weather, you can survive for about 3 hours, give or take, without shelter. So it's a pretty critical thing, Now, moving on to a very important subject, water. You can go 3 days without water. I wouldn't recommend it, though. Dying of dehydration is an awful way to go. It's recommended that you have at least 1 gallon of water per day per person for drinking, just drinking, okay? I would recommend personally that you have 3 gallons of water per day per person, period, okay? This allows for water for hygiene purposes, washing dishes and whatnot, and for anything else you may need. Keep in mind, if somebody has an injury or something, you're going to need some water to clean that injury off. If there's a wound, you got to get that clean. So, you don't want to be using your drinking water that is extremely critical, for your survival to clean off and sterilize wounds. That's not good. Even 3 gallons may not be enough. Okay, so one thing that you would definitely want to do is to keep water stored, water on hand. It's important to keep it on hand in case the sources, like other sources that you have, like a river, lake, stream, something like that, somehow becomes contaminated, okay? This can happen for many reasons. It could be a dead animal or body in the water source. There could be fecal matter in the water, or nuclear fallout, or some other reason that I can't think about right now. But, there's a lot of reasons why you may not want to drink water that you've not already stored. So just, forecast for that, okay? So the way you can do that is to store water in, jugs, 2 liters, or other kind of smaller containers that you can move around and load into your vehicle really easily. Another way that you can store it would be in the 55-gallon drums, like food grade type 55-gallon drums. Don't put it in those steel ones though, because water and metal creates rust. Not going to be a good situation for you, and it's also not food grade, so it can contaminate your water as well with like chemicals and whatnot. So anyway, they also have much larger containers available. I mean, like few 100-gallon containers are out there. So I mean, there's lots of different stuff. Okay. Now, as far as methods for getting drinkable water, if you do have a lake or river, you can collect that water, but you should not drink it without first filtering it and boiling the water. You can buy or make water filters. Making it's pretty simple. You can take like a big trash can or something, like one of those 30-gallon trash cans or something, and you fill it up with layers of charcoal and sand, charcoal, sand, charcoal, sand, charcoal, sand, and that will filter out the bigger particles from the water, such as metals and chemicals. Or you can just go to the store and buy it yourself, So, but in order to boil the water, of course, you're going to need a fire or a heat source of some point. All right, boiling will kill bacteria and other pathogens in the water that the filter can't remove. All right, you can always gather rainwater. Keep that in mind. You may still have to boil and filter that water, though, if you collect it that way. Your roof may have chemicals on it and bird feces on it, which can contaminate the water. It's also possible to kill bacteria in your water using water purification chemicals, or there's also an electrical process known as ozonation. It produces ozone in the water, which can kill bacteria. I saw that once being used on the show The Colony. If you haven't seen it, that's a really awesome show about prepping, basically, for disasters. So I'd highly recommend watching that show. Anyway, the next priority is going to be medication, okay? If you're currently on a life-sustaining medicine, it's absolutely critical that you have some kind of medication on hand, as much as you can possibly get, all right? If the store closed and you're unable to fill that prescription again, you're in real trouble. You don't want to have to go out looting in order to stay alive, all right? In many cases, looters are shot on sight during emergencies, all right? Even if you don't need medicine to stay alive, it's extremely wise to stock up on everyday medicines such as anti-inflammatories, fever-reducing medicines, itch and rash cream, body and foot powder, antibiotics. Now, look, I'm not a doctor, so this is worth what you're paying it for. But make sure you do your own research as well. It's possible to get antibiotics from pet stores or buying it online. Okay, there's no real difference between antibiotics used for humans and pets. I'd only use this as a last resort because I don't have medical training and I wouldn't know if I'm doing more harm than good. I could potentially pick the wrong antibiotic for the job. But if I have a choice between, picking the wrong antibiotic and somehow making myself sick and, dying of an infection that I know I'm going to get or have, it's a pretty clear decision for me. I'm going to risk, the antibiotics. So it's important that you are aware of that. But yeah, I'm not even positive if that's legal, though. So you may want to check on the legality of that. I am not a lawyer, nor am I a doctor. So just keep that in mind. I don't know what that is, and I've yet to do that myself, but I've done some small research on that topic. So anyway, moving on to food, all right? And this is something that's going to be really important. You need to put away food, all right? Much like the squirrel in the winter, put your food away for leaner times, okay? Use the same method I spoke about earlier, okay? Monitor how much you use. How much did you use in a week, all right? In my opinion, I would add about 20% to the average consumption that you allow for you to replenish extra calories burnt due to intensive labor, okay? That way, you may or may not be doing a whole lot of work in an emergency situation. You may just be sitting in your house, holed up, and not leaving. But, if you're in an emergency situation and you are doing a bunch of intensive labor, you're going to need more calories than you usually do to maintain your same level of strength. You can eat less, but you're going to lose strength. So it's a give and take. I would personally have more and not need it than less and be starving. How much you store is up to you, okay? It can help out in non-emergency situations too. So like I was saying, if you lost your job and you don't have an income coming in, you may not have money for food. So if you have preps on hand, this is something that will be really, really beneficial to you. I personally know people that have tapped into their preps when they came upon lean times, and it's helped them substantially. Their preparations have actually helped in that exact situation. Me personally, I have first aid kits that I've built, and I have tapped into them for things around the house. It's really nice to have stuff to sterilize and bandage a wound if you have to, and especially in a situation where you're not able to go to the doctor or the store, it's great to have preps there already ready, Store non-perishable items as far as food. You want to store like canned food, rice, pastas, wheat, dehydrated meats, freeze-dried foods, stuff like that. Keep them stored in like a cool, dry place, all right? You can use 55-gallon drums with Mylar bags to store bulk foods, such as, like I was saying, rice, wheat, and also quinoa. That's actually a bit of a superfood. It's got quite a bit of protein in that, and it's a really awesome food. If you're not aware of it, look up quinoa, and it's spelled weird. I can't spell it, so don't ask. Anyway, buying in bulk will help lower costs for food purchases. So keep that in mind. It's something that will be beneficial. Every prepper loves buying in bulk, all right? Make sure you buy your foods something that you will use so you can rotate them out and eat them. You want to eat the preps that will expire the soonest, so make sure you rotate those suckers out there, all right? And the next topic here is, don't forget about fire and cooking, okay? Again, this is we're going through the priorities here. So fire is really important, all right? It has many uses. You can cook with it. You can boil water with it. It can keep you warm. It can keep predators away in the wild. It can be used as a weapon. It can be a huge morale boost. So never underestimate the importance of being able to make fire. You should know how to make it in the wild, but also you should have means for cooking and water purification while bugging in, all right? You can use things like propane and stoves, like wood stoves, and electric generators to run a stove, but that's more of a temporary fix because you're going to run out of fuel to run that generator soon. So you need to have alternative methods, okay? Use the same method for finding out how much you'll need, like I was talking about before, and plan accordingly. Make sure you got enough to get through. And what I mean by that is like firewood and stuff like that, propane. So, all right, so on to the next bright idea. Don't forget the lights, okay? Make sure you have many flashlights, lanterns, things like that, all right? Have enough batteries to last for an extended blackout, power outage, all right? Your emergency situation. Make sure you got batteries. I mean, it doesn't help you if you got a bunch of dead batteries or half-used batteries that you're pulling out of your remote control. Have batteries on hand and make sure you rotate those out so that they aren't expired and all like, crusty looking like batteries can get. Check your battery stores. Make sure they're still, they still have power in them. And you may want to invest, and in fact, I would highly recommend it, invest in rechargeable batteries, all right? You can purchase a small solar panel to charge those batteries, okay? Another really cool thing for lights is solar-powered yard lights. Those are a really cheap investment that can go a long way. One thing that I would add as far as lighting is I would definitely try to avoid using candles as your primary means of lighting. On average, 42 home candle fires are reported every day in the United States. 15,260 homes burn down every year from fires started by candles. I mean, that's something that you need to keep in mind too. So, and especially, you're not going to have the fire department available to help you out if you set a fire and you can't put it out yourself. So it's something that you need to be aware of, and you should be planning accordingly. So no one wants to be sitting around in the dark, when the power's out and you're in an emergency situation. So, all right. Well, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take another break here. We got about 17 minutes left of the show. I will see you guys again in about a minute 20.
Support On the Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Need design services? Logo design for $90, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, signs, flyers, promotional products such as mugs, pins, bags, keychains, magnets, and so much more. Contact LaTasha Worley for a quote on your next project at Tasha, Tosha, at lworleyphotography.com today, or visit me on the web at lworleyphotography.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/lworleyphotography, and on Twitter at twitter.com/Tasha Worley. Show your support for a designer who believes in the Constitution and your rights.
And we are back. All right. I see I got another caller here on the line. I'm going to go ahead and put you on here. Caller with the last digits of 11. You're on. Hello, caller. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, I'm calling in from Vancouver, Washington. My name's Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Hey, I was calling in to let you know that generators, for electricity, there's also conversion kits you can do to go to propane.
Oh, yeah. I've actually seen those. I mean, even those forklifts can run on propane. So that's good to know.
Yeah, they're really helpful.
Yeah. I can definitely. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it's really helpful because you can convert your carbs to propane. You can use the fuel that you have in gas until it goes stale, and then you can have some propane tanks available, use for a barbecue, or you can hook it up to there to heat the house, if you don't have electricity for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. Do you have those already? Are you using that kind of thing for your prep?
Yeah, I actually converted a couple of my generators. They're called Tri-Fuel, and there's a website, on the internet that they convert the carbs to run off fuel, propane, or natural gas.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Have you ever heard of, back in the day in World War II, in Austria, they actually converted all their cars to run off of wood gas. Have you heard about that before?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I have not.
It was pretty amazing. You can actually, basically you contain wood chips and you have a fire underneath them, and when they char, they release a chemical or a gas. It's called wood gas, and it's combustible, just like propane. So you can actually pump that directly into your carburetor, and you could use that for the same purposes on like a generator. And instead of using propane, you could use wood to power your generator.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so, I mean, feel free to look into it. They have a lot of schematics online. They're called wood gasifiers. But, yeah, I mean, that's something that, and I don't know the fuel efficiency, on that. I don't know if wood gas burns equivalently to propane or not, but how many gallons, does propane last in a generator? Is it about equal to gasoline, or has it got less or more fuel efficiency?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. I just stored some larger tanks, so if ever need to come up, I can use it.
Okay, yeah. I've been trying to do the same thing. I've been meaning to do a comparison in the fuel efficiency between wood gas and propane. So it'd be kind of interesting to know. I'm sure the statistics are already out there. I'm sure I don't even have to do it myself. So, but
yeah, definitely
anyway.
On the long-term storage would work with propane, because it would last as long as it lasts forever, as long as it didn't leak out of the valves. Yeah, and that's a good alternative to using fuel, because fuel has such a short shelf life. I think at most, even if you put like fuel stabilizers in it, it'll last like 6 months to a year, something like that. So it's not really like a good situation to use for a permanent kind of storage prep. Propane, that's a really great idea. And if you could convert and use wood gas in the same way and contain it like you would propane, you have more of like a self-sustaining source of energy. So that's pretty good. You have anything else you want to talk about? No, that was it.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move forward here, and that was funny because the next topic here I was actually going to talk about was energy. So I appreciate you calling in, Jeff. We actually covered that. It's important to have some form of, especially for long-term prepping environments, you want to have some kind of long-term energy situation. So, you can do that through solar panels, wind power, and even the situation of wood gas that I was referring to, propane, things like that. but you want to have something that you can replenish after stuff stops being made. So unless you have a way of making your own propane, wood gas may be a good way to go about doing it. So using solar panels to charge small batteries, that's a great way. Using big solar panels that charge battery banks with wind turbines there and stuff. That's a great long-term survival strategy to be self-sustaining off the grid. You can use it to actually reach out and find out what's going on in the world. If you have a satellite internet connection or something, you can power your computer. You can even power freezers to store meat longer. I mean, there's so much that you can do with this kind of stuff if you actually plan accordingly. So anyway, energy is a really important thing to invest in, and you can't function in society, in a modern society, without electricity. You're just not going to have the same conveniences that you would do without electricity. And I've recently been watching the show Revolution. I enjoy the show. It's on that same topic. The power went out in the whole world, and it's not coming back. All right, so it's 15 years later. So I'm not going to spoil it for you. It's a good show. Check it out. Kind of the same concept, but I mean the standard of living is way, way, way less without electricity. You just can't function on the same level as a country with electricity without it. So anyway, moving forward, very important aspect of prepping is communication. And I'll try to hurry through this. We got about 9 minutes left in the show here, and I'm going to muscle through this here. I see we actually have a caller. I will be right with you in a second, but I'm going to get through the communication section here. So phones obviously are not going to work most likely, so don't plan on that as your primary means. We've seen this during even just small disasters, and events such as Hurricane Sandy or Hurricane Katrina. Phones were jammed. Even text messages, you'd send them, and they took forever to arrive to the intended person. So keep it in mind, those probably aren't going to work. You can use radios, to communicate with members of your group. That's great, but eventually your radios will die, so you have to have some way to recharge those batteries, as we were talking about before. You can use CBs based off of your car. You can have that plugged right into your cigarette lighter and be rolling down the road able to communicate. That's awesome. Eventually, you're going to run out of gas, so you have to have plans for that. Ways to power it. Again, we're linking back to energy as well. Ham radios are a really great way if the internet's down and everything's down and you still have a way of powering your little base station. You can reach out to people all over the world and find out what's going on. This is the internet before the internet. So, looking into ham radios is a really awesome survival prepping kind of technology and skill to look into. And it's just important as a prepper to learn as many different skills as possible. Okay, so that's communication, and we have a few more things that I'd like to discuss, and I'll go ahead and hold off on it for right now, and we'll take a caller real quick. Caller with the last two digits of 82, you are on.
Yeah, hi, I just wanted to add something about the propane versus gasoline efficiency.
Okay.
Propane's a whole lot more efficient than gas. In my business, we have forklifts, and they have multiple ways of being fueled. You can either use gasoline in one or propane, and the propane always lasts a whole lot longer, and it burns cleaner. It's better for the environment. In these generators, the best option would be if you could plumb your house natural gas into it. That way you never have to worry about it. It's always there. You don't, with propane, you have to go fetch some propane from somebody that's going to need to have a pump to pump it out, or it's gravity fed, but most of them are pumped out. So that's the only way you can get it from one tank to the other is some kind of pump. Again, you're needing electricity. The best option is natural gas.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say.
Awesome. I really appreciate the call. Thank you.
Okay. Have a great day.
You too. Have a good one. All right, so yeah, that was awesome. Thanks for calling in. All right, so the propane efficiency is better than the gasoline efficiency. That's really awesome. I'd still like to do some research and find out how wood gas is, and see if anybody's done a comparison on propane versus wood gas, because that would be a self-sustaining way that you could continue to make your own power to power these things. So it would make it so you can last a whole lot longer. All right. There's three real basic concepts that I'd like to discuss before we end the show here. We got 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and I'm going to try to get through them really quickly, okay? Firstly, we have the bug out and the bug in strategies, all right? I personally am a bug in strategy guy, all right? I prefer to bug in. Now, obviously, there are situations and times when you're not going to be able to bug in. Let's say the whole city's on fire, or there's an impending nuclear attack. Obviously, you don't want to bug in. You need to get out of Dodge as quickly as possible, okay? But in most situations, bugging in is the answer. And in fact, bugging out will actually cause more issues, because you're leaving a known situation. And if it's safe for right now, if there's no impending threat at your door right now, then why leave and go out into an unknown situation? All right, a lot of people don't think about that, and don't think of how dangerous it is for them to actually go out into the world, into the danger, all right? There's important things to keep in mind when you're bugging in, though, is that, you obviously have to have supplies on hand, so you can just hunker down and, eat your saved food, drink your saved water, and at that point, just try to act like nobody's home. Don't poke your head out there until you absolutely have to. Practice what's called light, litter, and noise discipline, okay? Try not to make it known that you were there. If you're, being really loud, running a big, diesel engine or something, people are going to know that, hey, this guy has power. If all your lights are on and you're the only house in the neighborhood with lights on, that's not a good thing. That's not a good idea. People are going to see you as a target. They're going to want what you have and some people will try to take it, and like I said, some people would rather see everything burn than to not have it themselves. So keep that in mind. So anyway, moving on to the bug out, okay? The bug out is great. It's great to have a bug out plan. If your plan is to bug out to the woods or something, okay, it's good to have some plan for that contingency. But if your entire mode of survival is to bug out, you are preparing to fail. Because if you're planning, if anything happens, economic disaster, you're just going to run out to the woods and, you're going to survive out there. You may very well be capable of surviving in the woods, and you may have all the tools necessary to stay alive, but you're not going to be the only one out there. That is a failure of a plan, and a lot of people who didn't plan are going to go out there too. Now, they may not be capable of surviving as long as you, or have the Gucci equipment that you have, or be able to do nearly anything that you're able to do, but they will be competition in the resources out there. They'll be using up the wood. Eventually, if everybody goes out to the woods to stay warm and they're burning fires, eventually all the trees are going to be gone, all right? Eventually all the game is going to be gone that's around there. People are going to eat up all the animals. You may now be able to easily hunt and get animals to put on your table. That's great. But everybody else is going to be trying to do the same thing. You're going to have a lot less animals out there. It's going to be hunting season all year, every year. And also keep in mind, you're going to have to be competing against other hunters. And if you guys are trying to get the same kill, there could be some conflict that could happen there. And again, that's a dangerous situation. So the last philosophy that I would like to discuss in the last minute 40 we got here is the philosophy that I like to call the gray man philosophy. All right, this isn't my idea. I can't remember where I'd read it, and I wish I could, because I'd give them the credit for it. But it's a philosophy of being invisible. All right, blending in. All right, I'm not saying you wear all your camo and stuff like that, but you just don't look like a threat, and you don't look like a target. Don't go out in all camo gear with your rifle slung and stuff if you can help it. Obviously, if you can't help it, you can't help it. There's nothing you can do, But if you can move under cover of darkness, if you can remain quiet, if you can not advertise your location, if you can do things that will prevent people from taking notice, or even if they do take notice, if you look like a weak target, then and maybe a target that doesn't have anything, not necessarily a weak target, but a target that doesn't have much to offer, that people would try to kill you for, then that would be a good way to go. But there is something to be said about deterrence. So, if you're going to go out and have all your camo gear on and stuff, be my guest. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys sticking with me today, and I know this is a long episode, but I do appreciate you sticking with us. If you want to email us, it's onthemoveshow@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out the website, onthemoveshow.com. Check out the Facebook, facebook.com/onthemoveshow, youtube.com/onthemoveshow, twitter.com/onthemoveshow, and our store at cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. Thank you.